Hail, Siege here, and today, how much of a person can be replaced before that person is no longer the same person they used to be? I want you to keep that in the back of your mind while I talk about one of the mechanics the Deadlock protocol brought with it that, in my opinion, brings an added level of gravity to the quest I wasn't sure if people were fully grasping, unfortunately showing us the other half of what we've been fighting against in regards to the people of Fortuna. Truthfully, this is one of the heaviest concepts I feel DE has introduced into the game, and I'm not even sure a lot of people consider it at all as they are traversing the new tilesets that came with the update. I always talk about wanting games to make me feel a thing. Whoa, this one's pretty rough. What I'm referring to is the choice a player is given during a visit to the new corpus ship tilesets. Mainly, what to do with the Granum Crown. What's that, you might be asking? Well, it's a kind of coin, if you will, that corpus treasurers are greedily hoarding during missions on corpus ships. These treasures possess a pretty serious shield, and if you are able to take them down, you can pick up the crown that was dropped. For those that have taken the time to familiarize themselves with this mechanic, you know there are actually a few options you can choose. First, you can head back into the Granum Void and give yourself the opportunity to get some of the update's main rewards, namely the Deadlock Protocol's featured frame Protea, as the quest's end provides the tenno with only the blueprint for the frame, and if you want her, this is the area housing the parts. Which is why I'm guessing this is the most common use of the crown for most players, at least at this point. By paying the golden hands these tokens, one can re-access the Granum Void and said parts can be acquired, along with parts for the Stalta, Stropha, and Velux weapons by successfully killing a specific number of specters based upon the crown that you are given. And, well, obviously RNG's blessing you accordingly, praise be. By using normal, exemplar, and zenith crowns, you can enter corresponding normal, extended, and nightmare versions of that void space, where the number of kills required to succeed increases. Obviously, the nightmare version is where all the good stuff is. I'm sure you probably put that together already, but if not, well, don't say old Siege never did anything for you. The new Zorus weapon is incredibly useful here in combating the specters and freeing Solaris captives within, and doing so increases the amount of time allowed to complete the objective. There are some other rewards, but nothing really noteworthy to speak of, which is why after a bit of that, or if you're a lore nerd like myself, you may choose to spend this currency on the second option, which are at the large statues of Parvus Granum, seated in these ships. The consoles accessed for this grant you one of Granum's tenets, which are both a compendium of his existence as a younger man, as well as the story of how he came to found the corpus, and to me at least, the most exciting part, the philosophy behind what the corpus were originally built upon. The Deadlock Protocol provides a very good and potentially needed look at the concept of how a good idea can become twisted and transformed over time to become self-serving and even monstrous, depending on too often a skewed perspective of what the original thought conveyed. What's that saying again? The path to hell is paved with good intentions? You better believe it. Anyway, the final option is the one I personally have the most trouble with overall. The thing that made me feel, as I mentioned earlier. By using the Granum Crown, you can also free random prisoners, most likely from Fortuna, that are just being held along the way. If you keep your ears open during the quest, you can actually hear them asking for help.
Yeah, scared of real. Hey, old mate, let a cove down, yeah?
Now, I don't know about you, but at first I was like, you get Solaris standing for this? What do I want that for? And I was like, you boys and girls are probably going to have to wait for some other tenno, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure there's another one coming along the way here soon, promise. But then, a couple of the pieces all fit together in my brain at once, and I immediately reframed the situation. See, if you've done any extensive amount of time in Fortuna, you know a bit about the plight of the people there. Instead of like foreclosing your home, forcing you into bankruptcy, or even putting you into jail, Nef Anyo's corpus, the greedy, merciless, disgusting group we know them as today, do things a little differently if you owe. You see, if you can't pay many times a debt that they themselves determined was legitimate, they do come a-knocking. But this tax man, well, using this contraption right here, comes to collect your fucking head. And your arms and your legs. Literally. And if this scene is any evidence, I'm guessing they cut it all off, regardless of the debt, usually at least. Maybe these prisoners get all their pieces back, or some of them back. Maybe they don't, but at least Now you all have a good idea, not only why the Solaris people look the way they do, but also proof of what's done to them and how exactly it's accomplished. When you buy the dead away for these people in town, this set of events is either what you're preventing, or if nothing else, reacquiring the results of for the unfortunate victims. Now here's the twist. Like the greedy bastards they are, only one of the aforementioned treasurers spawns per mission. Per mission. And as you can tell, there are far too many objectives to complete, especially in the beginning when you just start getting crowns to drop for the first time. So the question is, who are you saving, hero? The prisoners in the Granum Void? If you're successful in freeing them from the stasis they're in, they will be returned to Fortuna. Of course, the other prisoners invariably trapped at some other area in that very same ship are going to be forced to suffer. But what can you do, right? At the same time, saving one of those prisoners in the chopping block, so to speak, will not only keep the ones in the void trapped, at least in their stasis, mind you, but typically there's more than one prisoner around, begging for assistance. If you're interested in the lore of the corpus, you're really sacrificing a lot for it. Potentially every one of the prisoners in that particular mission, you let them all to their fates. And the thing is, I know there's going to be someone in the comments who says, oh, I have a bunch of those crowns. I can save everyone. I'm so cool, blah, blah, blah. Well, champion, let me remind you of the countless times you had to have visited a ship, killed the treasurer, and literally did nothing with it. You didn't help a single soul in the mission, and you couldn't have even been bothered to pick up the lore. I think you can see, though, there really isn't ever a right answer, and ever a time when this question won't be relevant under Nathaniel and his distorted version of the corpus, which is a sad situation because this system the corpus have constructed is institutional in nature as far as their race is concerned, meaning killing one or more leaders won't necessarily change anything, Nathaniel included. If Parvis Granum is to reclaim the nature of his people he had originally, namely that prosperity should also carry with it a level of dignity and self-awareness, he's going to have a real battle on his hands because, well, people who are getting paid to do bad things are generally paid pretty well to do them, because money is all that anyone cares about, you know? Getting people to do the right thing for less, or God forbid nothing, is mostly a pipe dream. The other problem we have to consider is that the sentients are already established within at least one sect of the corpus. So even under Granum's control, they're not necessarily going to be a reliable ally, as they could have all kind of spies within. You know, spies that can actually change shape if they so choose, like Nata did originally to trick Alad V into their unfortunate partnership. So the enemy already exists within the corpus, it's just some question of where. As I see it, aside from the release of Granum from the Void, the Deadlock Protocol isn't what I would call a success at all, as far as its larger implications with the system. And really only time and Granum's future actions will ultimately tell the tale. On top of that, we now have the unfortunate understanding of what happens to the Solaris prisoners in graphic detail, as well as the very grounding truth of how many we won't be able to save. Will they live? Will they die? Will they ever get their parts back? And if they are forced to replace their parts, how many does it require before they are no longer themselves? This is, through quite a few layers of Siege, psychoanalyzing the whole thing, mind you, the question I asked at the beginning of the video. Because every time you walk into one of those tile sets, you're becoming judge, jury, and executioner for each of the corpus prisoners on it. Or, if nothing else, the entire group of many times unjustly captured prisoners, when you come onto that ship, will look up and metaphorically and sometimes actually shout, "Save us." And you'll whisper, "No." Like I said, though, the question isn't if you will or if you won't. It's how many times. Hero. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video and it made you think a little about the impossible choice the Deadlock Protocol brought with it and their very weighty consequences. At times, the strain was more than I could bear. How did you hold up? At any rate, I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll talk at you all in the next one. Take care, heroes. Bye.